Have you ever went to practice mode in a fighting game to try some stuff, and then you thought to yourself,
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Where are they broadcast?
I don't know anything about any numbers.
then this video is for you. I just want to clear some stuff before we start. First thing, you mostly know, but just in case, fighting games in general are locked on 60 FPS, so when I say this move is 30 frame fast, that means it's half a second. Second thing, I'll make timestamps in this video, so you can skip if you understood a specific part, because I'll be listing a lot of examples. And third thing, startup frames is how many frames are needed for the move to be activated or hit the opponent. For example, Lee's back 1 have a startup of 14 frames, which means it takes 14 frames to be activated. And every move have its frame data, like Lee's back 4 have 20 frames of startup, 1 plus 2 it's 21 of startup, and jabs are 10 frames startup, which is the fastest move in the game. I will also provide examples from Street Fighter 6 if it feels more complicated for you. If it's not, you can skip to the next section. So here we have Marisa's standing medium punch, have a startup of 7 frames, again, which means it takes 7 frames to hit. Her back heavy punch is 8 frames of startup, crouching light punch have 4 frames of startup, so every move have its frame data. Active frames is how many frames the move will stay activated after its startup frames, or how much time the move will be able to hit the opponent after its activation. For example, we have Lee's slide. It have a startup of 18 frames, but it says 18 to 24. What does that mean? It means the move will still hit for extra 6 frames after its activation. That means it have 7 active frames, so if you do it from max range within its limit and active frames, it will hit during those active frames. If you didn't understand, here is another example. I'm gonna use Kazuya's laser since it got too much active frames. It's a high and got 41 of startup frames and 16 active frames. I'll set him to do it here, and I'm gonna try to duck it and stand up blocking. So here it's 41 frames, because I was standing there with no delay. But this time I stood up at its last active frame, the 56th, and it still hit, because active frames, you know. So here I'm gonna take Ken's standing heavy kick for example. It have 12 frames of startup and 2 active frames. So here I do it from close range and it's hitting on its 12th frame. But when I do it from max range, it will hit on the 13th frame. Like right here. Also, most and not all projectiles have infinite active frames until they hit or go outside the stage. Recovery frames are the frames that is needed to gain control of the character after doing a specific move. Or it's the time needed to get back to the neutral state after doing a move. So here I'm gonna set up Lee to do his forward 4-3 and block after that. So within the time his startup and active frames are done, his recovery frame starts, and at this period he cannot do anything. So when I hit him here, the game says punish. If I'm too late on the punish, he will be able to block after recovery.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Recovery frames are better to explain here, since Street Fighter got a better frame meter. That blue thing you see in the meter is the recovery frames, where you can't do anything during that period. And as you can see, every move have different data, but for the sake of the example, I'm gonna use Marisa's Drive Rush Heavy Punch. It's not punishable on block, so she can block after that. Here I was a bit late, so she was able to recover and block in time. But this time I attacked during the recovery frame, so she couldn't block. This time I'm gonna set up Ken to block, which is rarely happening, and do a crouching light punch after blocking. Then block again, so when he blocks my attack, I'll be out of his jab range. And I'll whiff punish him during his recovery frames. Frames on hit. It's the period of frames that gives you an advantage or disadvantage after landing a hit on your opponent, or the opposite. For example, after landing Lee's down forward one, Lee will be +5 on hit. On the other hand, Kazuya will be -5. What does that mean? It means Kazuya cannot do anything for 5 frames. So it's almost like he is late 5 frames. I'm gonna set up Kazuya to do his 10 frame jab after I land my attack on him, and then I'll do my 10 frame jab too. So here we both did the same move after my down forward one, but I won with a counter hit. Why is that? Kazuya's attack is 10 frames and my advantage was +5, so we add them together to get 15 frames. That means it will take Kazuya 15 frames to land his jab after my attack. So if I do a slower move like 16 frames or above, Kazuya will beat it. Important note here, not all moves are plus on hit. Like Lee's down back 3, it's -1 on hit. So if we try the same method as before, the 10 frame jab after I hit him, I will lose to his jab because I was 1 frame late. So here we have Kazuya's down back 4. It's +4 on hit, so when I land it on Lee, he will be 4 frames late. And after landing that with Kazuya, I'm gonna do a 14 frames move, and I'll let Lee do a 10 frames move. Lee will lose in a trade here, but if I do an 11 frame move with Lee, he will just lose. Another note here, some moves are +10 or more on hit, or a counter hit. That means you can chain them with moves that have a startup of its exact advantage or less. For example, here we have Lee's Hitman stance upward 4. It's +13 on hit, which means we can do a move that have a startup of 13 frames or less after it. Here I have down forward 4, it have a startup of 13 frame. So here we can chain them together to form a combo. So here I got Ken's crouching light punch. It's +5 on hit. That means if I do a move that have a startup of 5 frames or less, it will chain into a combo. Like his standing medium punch, have a 5 frames of startup, or his crouching light punch, have 4 frames of startup. So it can chain into a combo. Important note in Street Fighter, sometimes you can chain some lights together no matter their frames on hit. Like here, Ken's crouching light kick. It's only +1 on hit. It can be chained into crouching light punch or in reverse. Another note here about the drive rush system. When you drive rush into a move, it will add 4 frames of advantage into it. For example, here we have Marisa's standing heavy punch. It's only +3 on hit, but with drive rush, it will be +7. Frames on block. It's the period of frames that gives you an advantage or disadvantage after blocking the opponent's attack, or the opposite. And for example, on the advantage side, please forward 2. It's +5 on block. On the other hand, that makes Kazuya -5 on block. That means Kazuya cannot do anything for the next 5 frames. So after that, any move that have a startup of 14 frames or lower will beat Kazuya's 10 frame jab, which is the fastest he have. And 15 frames move will trade with the jab. Also, 16 or higher will lose to the jab, because Kazuya's move is 10 frames, plus my move advantage, it's +5, so we add them together, it's 15 frame. So this is the fastest Kazuya can go. I'm gonna set up Kazuya to do his 10 frame jab after blocking my forward 2. So here we go. 14 frames or lower will win. 15 frames will trade. 16 or higher will lose. And an example on the disadvantage side. Here we got Lee's while standing 2-3. It's -13 on block, which means Lee cannot do anything for 13 frames, even blocking. So if I use a move that have a startup of 13 frames or lower, it will punish him. I'm gonna set up Lee to do that, then block, so 10 frames. It worked. 11 frames will work. 13 frames will work. But 14 frames doesn't work. Why? Because he is only -13. So here again, I'm gonna set up Lee to do his 3-3 then block. It's only -10, so only moves with a startup of 10 frames will punish it. Anything higher can't. And here we got Marisa's drive rush heavy punch. It's only +1 on block. I'm gonna set up Jury to do her crouching light punch, which is 4 frames of startup after blocking. And then I'm also gonna do my crouching light punch, which is also 4 frames of startup. I'm gonna win, because Jury's attack is 4 frames. We add that to my advantage, +1 equals to 5, so 5 frames is the fastest Jury can go. So when I do a 5 frame startup move, we will trade. A higher than that, I will lose. Another one, her back heavy punch fully charged. It's +4 on block, and the fastest move Jury can do is 4 frames of startup. So it will take her 8 frames because of my advantage. So here after she blocks my attack, any moves with a startup of 7 will win. Startup of 8 will trade, and the startup of 9 or higher will lose. Gonna test that now. 7 frames will win. 9 frames or higher loses. And 8 frames will trade. But looky here. When we traded, I got enough advantage to get a combo going. A disadvantage example. Kami's spiral arrow. It's -12, which means we can punish it with a move that have a startup of 12 or lower.